Dateline Denver, where the air was thin and the margin was thinner. The road fans came in confident. What do you think? What do you think about this game?
We got this.
It's gonna be a good game.
Got this.
Let's go. Let's go.
We here to get the dub, man.
The visitors swooped in and landed a wild win. Home fans, not happy. But those in burgundy and gold, beaming and believing. Dishing on the dramatic win in Denver, and bring on Buffalo on this Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus.
The man
Call somebody
is back,
else.
y'all.
We're
He's
back. Call
He's
your
back.
mama, call your daddy.
We're back and we're back.
We're back.
Tony McGee,
He's back, y'all.
We're back.
Tony
McGee.
Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee. What's up?
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. Here we are, week number 2. You look at this Washington team. They spotted Denver, 18 points, called them on the bet, and came back and raised them and won the game. This is what we've been looking for from this team. So what do? We go back and bring in the people that know more about it than I do. At least they think they do anyway. We got Donna the Hopkins. We got Alex the Parker. We got Gary the Cool Man. I don't even get that name, but then we go in and bring the Moss. He's off the rocks. Santana, what's happening? Welcome back to the show. Now,
What's up,
if you look at
Tony?
it, guys, you take a look at it, and we got to go offensive first. I would like to talk about defense first because they didn't play well in the first half. But offense, it seems as though when they're trying to pass the ball early like they were doing, it was not working. They had a pretty good drive, but then they go down and miss the field goal. And then they allowed Denver to come down and score. But it just seemed like they could not protect the quarterback the way they needed to, but they were able to get the job done.
Hey, Tony, you're talking about that protecting the quarterback. That game was so crazy in so many ways. The way it started off, I mean, the Commanders, I thought they were going to get blown out this game because they could not get anything going offensively. And Coach Rivera talked about Sam Howell as far as, you know, he did some good things, he did some bad things, but the holding on to the ball too long again. But he said that he made adjustments in the second half as far as what he needed to do in moving forward. But Tony, before we get into the meat of this offense, because I know that Santana Moss and Gary are chomping at the bits to talk more about this. So I'm going to go to the locker room and let you hear what they had to say about this big comeback win of the Commanders.
At times, you're going to need offense, going to need to help the defense. Defense going to need to help the offense. But at the end of the day, it was a team effort here. You know what I'm saying? We all played a part in making it that way, and we all played a part in turning it back around. The biggest difference offensively was just not shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, starting with me to begin with, like on one of our second drives, I gave up a sack when we was moving the ball down the field. You know what I'm saying? We were rolling, and to give up that sack, we bumped us back some yards. You know, and you know that's how it was for every single drive. I feel like in the first half, I feel like we were taking 2 steps forward and taking 3 steps back. So we just got to eliminate those plays, and once we eliminate those plays, you see we can move the ball down the field and score points on the board.
All right, so we got to continue this momentum and continue to fix our mistakes. But to come out here in a tough environment against a really good team and defense, to find a way to win, that's why EB's talking about drag your ass across the finish line. So that was one of those games, and I think that's something we could definitely learn from and build off of.
The defensive ends were playing a lot into the tackles. And, so all game we was like, be prepared for the screen, and it finally got called, and so I just was patient on it. He shot into the tackle, caught the ball, and after that it was free running. I know I had a DN chasing me from the inside. I know I could beat him, and then I cut back inside, everybody was overflowing and cut back again, and then I tried to hit the burners.
Well, we've been, just shaking off the dust, just, getting things back rolling. It's been a work in progress, but I feel like we've been taking all the appropriate steps needed to, just, build onto our run game, and, we put it on display today. Every week, we're going to take another step. I expect, continue to strive, take those strides in the right direction, and, eventually you'll see the full potential in me.
They are doing the job, but it did not happen. And I know I got two great wide receivers here, but it did not happen until they started running the ball.
But Tony, let me give you up before Santana and
let Pretty Boy go first. Go ahead, Pretty Boy. Go ahead, Tanner.
I guess he can't hear you. What do you think, Gary? Was it when they started running the ball or not?
No, I mean, they did a good job. And he's right. Robinson is right. Like, he's just getting started. Once he learns how to run to daylight, he's going to be a beast. Because right now, he's a powerful back. Everything he does, he gives you 100%. There's nothing you can complain about. He's giving you 100% effort, and he's getting results. But when he starts to run to daylight, that's going to be a whole nother thing. Like, watch what his numbers go then. Then watch how explosive his offense becomes. When he's running to daylight, instead of just running to run over people, unbelievable what's going to happen when he runs to daylight.
Hey, Gary, you're exactly right, because Coach Rivera talked in his press conference. He said that Robinson was frustrated as far as that first half goes. And he said what it is he just had to be patient a little bit more as far as him hitting those seams and everything. If he had just hesitated a little bit more, he would have found that, and he started to figure that out a little bit more. But, we got to talk about EB as far as this play calling, because he did an excellent job as far as the screen passes, and Robinson ended up with 129 total yards, and some of those were the pass plays as far as what EB is putting together as far as what he wants to see more from those running backs. But look, the second half change of events, 32 of 3 runs. Howard was 18 of 32, passing for 303 yards with 3 touchdowns. This offense figured it out. And Tony and Alex and everybody, you've got to love Sam as far as the way he was able to keep his composure and come back, because Rivera talked about the mistakes that they were making in the first half, drop passes, drop balls, the offensive line not giving them enough time to pass the ball. He said they've got to figure out those things. But 35 points they put up, and I think it helped them also that they went in at the half only down by 7 points.
Well, it didn't really help them, but it helped. What I think was more important was they made adjustments at the half. That's something we haven't seen in the past few years. They made adjustments. They came back out and they said, okay, we cannot pass on these guys. They already had given up 2 or 3 sacks. So what did they do? They started pounding the ball. Yeah. Offensive linemen, you can look at them when they were going to the huddle and getting down and getting ready. You saw them getting ready. They were getting ready to run that ball. And that's what they wanted to do. I'm going to tell you what, Alex, when's the last time you seen 30-some points on the Redskins side of the board? And wait a minute, before you say anything, y'all heard Donna Hopkins. She's calling the offensive coordinator EB now.
Well, because I got that relationship, Tony. When you're out in the trenches with the team, you can call him EB.
Uh-oh, Tony. Does Donna know you played for the squad? 35 points against a Denver team. For folks watching that remember, I know Gary Clark remembers because Gary was in the game. But as I'm watching this offense sort of explode against Denver, I couldn't help but think about the 35 unanswered in the second quarter of Super Bowl 20, whatever. Hook me up, Gary Clark. Whatever it was, and Gary, you were there. This thing was rolling. And to do this with a rookie quarterback, making his first start on the road in the NFL, down 18, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Russell Wilson looked like that guy again. It would have been so easy not to give up. Nobody's talking about giving up, but just to kind of think, hey, maybe it's not our day, whatever. We'll get next week. This team fought back. Sam Howell led the way. The defense, which I know we'll talk about next segment at length, was fantastic and dominant and sort of imposed their will on Denver. But to do it in that thin air. Tony, a week ago, you said something to the effect of you thought this team in week 1 looked more fit, more conditioned, better conditioned. Second half of that game in altitude against a home team that should have an advantage, and the Washington team flat out outplayed them. I can't imagine that fitness or conditioning didn't help with that. On every front, this was an amazing win. Offense got it done when they had to.
Astute observation. That's what I looked at first of all.
Yeah.
First, I looked at the adjustments. Then I look at second half, our team, which was Washington, looked a lot more fresher than Denver. Now, let me ask you this, Santana. Do you think the number one option receiver is turning into Brown right now? It seems like the ball is going to him a lot. Tell me what you think.
Well, I think, when coming into this season, we all knew that Terry was going to be the guy. But, just with Jahan body of work thus far, I would assume that Terry would get a lot of those matchups that probably was going to favor Jahan to get one-on-one opportunities with a second or third cornerback for that would make one guy. It's Terry. Terry is the number one guy. He's going to always be the number one guy. But when you look at what Jahan can do as far as just route running, catching the ball, the different nuances he does as a receiver, I feel like he has the makeup to be one of those guys sooner or later. But every now and then that, hey, when in doubt, throw the ball up to me, and that he put that on display this Sunday and showed you why we shouldn't, because we've been sleeping on him the whole week saying that, that toe is going to hold him back. And he had Patrick Surtain Jr. that was going to be covering him. So I was looking for a big game for Jahan, but Terry went out there and surprised everybody and made one of the biggest plays of the game.
Well, you know what I'm looking at, G, and one thing you have always been saying, the receivers are what makes it happen. And each and every one of our receivers made at least one big play for the team. And I think that's very important. I think when you can't run the ball and you got a chance, but you have a problem throwing it, those receivers have to make it happen. And they did that on Sunday.
They did. I mean, Terry McLaurin, I can't praise him enough. He's patient. He's unlike me, where I would probably been bitching, give me the ball like right now.
You would have been
when we were down. When we were down, like he waits patiently. I mean, he truly is Art, me, Tana, and Ricky all in one. He's like all those things all in one. Like he has the patience of Tana and Art, but he also has the I'm gonna go kill you right now of myself. He has the hands like Ricky and Tana. They catch anything. If they touch it, they're gonna come down with it. So he is just a driving force, and he does make things easier for the other receivers right now because they are going to concentrate on him. It's like when I first came into the league and then everybody was concentrating on Art, that's allowed me to go in and showcase what I could do. And then they started showcasing on me and Art, then they show what Ricky can do. I mean, at the end of the day, pick your poison. I mean, Dotson's a bad boy. If you're going to put all your eggs in the baskets and try to cover Terry, then he's going to eat you up. Put all the eggs in the basket and try to cover him, Terry's going to eat you up. And then the tight ends will come in and make you look. Both tight ends play good, by the way. Both tight ends play good, make key catches when they had to in the game. So the offense is going to be up and running. Offensive line's going to get a little tighter each week. And what I love most about this game, again, they won playing ugly.
They did, Gary.
Only good teams win when they play ugly. Only good teams win when they play ugly because they can come back and win. And that's the nice thing about it. They played two ugly games and they won both.
Hey, Gary, but the even more impressive than everything that you said, because you were spot on, is that being down 21-3 at one point, this team did not push the panic button, something that in the past years they would have pushed a couple of panic buttons. But this team, what they talked about in the locker room, that everybody rallying each other, the defense rallying each other, and them keeping everybody upbeat and not letting them get down on themselves. But Tony, you got to be impressed again with Howell, and how this is a guy that is 3-0 as a starter, and you're seeing him progress more and more each time, figuring out what he did wrong and being able to come back and clean up his game on the fly. Talk about just the growth that you see in him right now.
The growth I see in him, and what we have to see in him, is he can't hold the ball as long as he was holding it before. He still holds it for a while, but he has the ability to run, so he makes things happen. What I like about him, he tries to read the field. That's why he's holding the ball. As he get older and more games he play, he'll be able to do that. I like everything they're doing with him. They're bringing him down right, but he has to have help. Wide receivers are doing that already. We need that offensive line to get better, and that running game need to be in the first half, not just the second half. We'll take a break right now because speaking of running, that defense, they was another team that looked like they were ready to go the second half. And we've been talking about years before that they didn't do that, but they did it on Sunday. And we'll be right back.
Next.
Look at the defense. Everyone want to talk about the defense. But what I saw in the defense on Sunday was not just a great effort. Now, in the beginning, they did not do what we thought they should do. They weren't stopping the run. They weren't making tackles. They weren't even pass rushing that well. But what I saw is a change at halftime. And when Payne came in the first 3 plays that Denver ran in the second half, he stopped all of them. That set the tone for the whole game. And I tell you what, when you get it like that, defensive backs are going to get their first interception. Offensive lines are going to get a little bit afraid. But when you get a man that he make all 3 plays, the whole team just picked it up, Donna. What do you think?
Hey, Tony, you are exactly right. And you think about Payne, the first game of the season, he came in and set the tone also. And like you said, for him to do what he did, to start the process of moving this team forward. Let's talk about Chase Young also, Tony. First time back in a while. This guy, Ron Rivera said, was so excited about being back out there. He was running on the field when he was not supposed to be on the field. But, Tony, he was winning one-on-one battles, too. You saw the explosiveness in his game again. And the relationship that he has with Montez Sweat, those two together, Coach Rivera talked about them being able to play off each other. And then, at one point, they were feeding off of that communication. But he said that where Chase Young has to get better as far as with the tackles, his communications with the tackles, because, to tell them if you're going inside, outside, and all that. But you got to love what you've seen in this defense, to take the knockout punches that they were given and give up 21 points. I was like, I was surprised to see that effort from the defense to be with that. But as Chase Young said, Tony, they figure out the trickery plays, and Denver ran out of them in the second half, and they just learned how to figure it out. But before you bring on the other people, let's go to the locker room to hear your favorite side of the ball, Tony.
Oh, don't be player hate.
Man, just feeling blessed, man. It's been a long time coming for me. And I was just a blessing just to be running around on the field, being out there with 9 on the guys. I think that was the most, exciting thing for me. We never really, let it hit us because a lot of, they came out, a lot of trick plays here and there. Really, it's not like they were just running the ball down our throat. Second half they ran out of those little plays, and we practice on just keep chopping wood, just keep coming, and that's just what we did. We just continued to go, and my offense put on a hell of a game. Sam, EB, the O-line. Man, we got it as a team today.
We just stayed together, didn't point fingers at nobody, and we just continued to fight with each other and just had each other backs, and we came out with the victory.
What was the key thing, though? What was the key thing that turned this around for you all?
Honestly, just the players and the leaders on the sideline, just keeping everybody positive, making sure everybody's body language is good, and just going out there and keep going.
Had a little bit of issues on the defense, but we didn't give up. We started the offense was still running down the field, getting some good plays. So it was like, okay, they're hot. They're making some plays. Let's keep going. And then eventually, we ended up putting 35, which is I ain't seen 35 on the scoreboard in a long time. So that always kept us motivated as a defense. Like, okay, we like 1 or 2 stops away, and our offense can like go out there and put some points on the board. So that's what kept us on the, you know what I'm saying, like in the game. Like,
Talk about what the things that you all had to do defensively to turn it around. What was happening in the first half that you changed up in the second half and what you saw?
just be more sound, honestly, because they wasn't doing anything special, but we kind of like hurting ourselves by like not following the rules. Like, you know, certain plays we need to pass some receivers, or certain plays we need to be in a certain gap for like the run and all that stuff. So we just, you know, tone it down, you know, take a deep breath in and go back to like, you know, the basics and the details. And then after that, it was over with. I mean, they can't score on us like when we play sound defense. Honestly, we practiced that play a lot because they did it previously. It was similar to what we did, what they did when Russell was at Seattle, and it was another play that we practiced during the week. So I saw that they were kind of like in stacks. Receiver was close to the line, so I'm like, okay, he might be going to the other side. And every time like there's a receiver crossing on the other side, there's always something coming back on the other side. So we passed it off. Manuel Forbes was running with Cortland Sutton. Told him I was going to cut it. So when cut it means I'm taking over his player. He switched over. And then, you know, after that, I just made the play, you know, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, saving the day.
You know, I want to ask you two receivers, and I know we're talking defensive side of the ball, but what do you guys, on a play like that, what did you see in that game that made the difference? Did the receivers respond better than the defensive backs? Because they had 3 defensive backs there. When you have those kind of plays, you never expect them to work. But this worked. And what do you guys think was the difference in it?
You talking about the Hail Mary?
Yes.
I mean, it was just being stupid as a defense, if you ask me.
Gary, what did you see? You look at yourself as a defensive back and a receiver. What advantage did you see happen in that play?
Well, I didn't want him to get to midfield so he could throw the ball in the end zone to start with. I mean, that's what you want. You wanted them to stop. First of all, you want them to be 3 and out. That's one time you want the defense to come out and put them 3 and out. You don't want them to get to midfield, so that way they have a chance to throw the ball into the end zone. Then anything else can happen. We had 3 DBs miss the ball. I mean, they literally just missed the ball. They went up. The ball was over here, and they went up over here, which was just, you know, it wasn't funny. It's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time because, you know, everybody was hoping wouldn't happen, ended up happening. But they pulled up. You know, at the end of the day, they came back and they stopped them where they had to stop them. They didn't get the extra point. They didn't get for 2. And we won that football game when we needed to win the football game. Because a lot of times in the past, we lose that football game. If that would have happened, they would have scored that 2 points and we would have lost. But for some reason this year, those guys are not allowing that to happen. They're playing ugly at times, but they're still going to win the football game because they're the better team.
And there's no better way than what you said. And when I want to ask you, Alex, we talked about this defense, and this is your second year with us looking at it. What is the most improvement you see with this overall defense? They've always raved about they're one of the best ones in the NFL. But we've always said, oh, the linebackers are a little bit different. We don't have defensive back. What is the improvement that you see with this defense this year, Alex?
Tony, I don't know if it's improvement or sort of a continuation of what folks have expected, but Sweat, Payne, you had Chase Young in the mix. Sunday, he was fantastic. I mean, as a viewer at home, I kind of couldn't take my eye off him. Sort of like the fellow in Dallas, Parsons, or LT back. It's like, there's 99. He was as good, I think, as any of us or any fans, or maybe even Chase himself, would have expected after being out, in, out, in, out. We know what's been going on with his career injury-wise. He was fantastic. I think the D-line is as advertised. We knew they were going to be good, but they're really good, and they set the tone. The DBs, I was struck by what Donna talked about with St. Just in the locker room. The maturity. Forbes gets his first pick. This dude's playing his second game ever. St. Just is not exactly a grizzled veteran. The fact that those 2 guys at the crucible of this contest, after giving up a Hail Mary, okay, with a 2-point conversion to tie it or maybe to win it, because I'm with Gary. If they get that too, we know who's winning that football game, okay? For those 2 young dudes in the back to come up with their own sort of scheme because of what they saw, and they're that young, and they have that much, I guess, freedom on the back end to make some adjustments literally on the fly. Very impressive. I think this defense, Tony, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but when you've got that D-line and they are so forceful and dynamic and imposing. That travels. That travels. That travels in weather. That travels in thin air. That plays well at home. When you start with that, I think the entire defense obviously benefits greatly.
Hey, Tony, but I want to ask you, Tony, what are you seeing even more so from Payne this year? What he's doing? Because is this just him in his own willing his way to even be better than he was last year? But what difference are you seeing in him? And talk a little bit about what you saw in Chase Young yourself. I mean, you being on those edges yourself.
Let me go with the latter. Chase Young came in and you expected him to have an impact on the game, which he did. He made some plays, but what I like about him being aggressive, not worried about the injury, we know he has the talent. At the same time, he has to come and work his way in because he's playing with three or four other guys that he hasn't played with in a while, and he has to, as you said with the offensive line, you must communicate. So I thought that was very good. Payne, what I see with him, he's changing his game up. And that's one thing I don't see with the new players now. One moment you'll see him, he'll swim a guy and go up and make the other play. The next moment, he's two-gapping him and staying right in the middle. Then the next moment, he's underhooking him and going up on the other side. He's changing his game up on each play, and it's allowing him to make big plays. But one thing I do see is different about him, as well as the other defensive players, they're in shape. And that's what I like. And believe it or not, I think they're more in shape because of EB, the offensive coordinator, is making his guys get in shape, and they're working harder in practice. Practice is where you win games. A lot of people think you win them on the field. What you do to prepare for them is what's important. So when I look at Payne, I look at Sweat. You can't leave him. This guy's having a tremendous year, but he's making key plays at key times. So when you look at that defensive line, we've all known that they have 4, 5, 6 guys that are pretty good. But at the same time, now you got linebackers starting to play. Early, they did not do well. Let's be truthful. Denver was moving the ball, and then we had big plays on the defensive backfield. But all of them got coordinated, and that's what you always do as a defense and offense where everybody's working together. That's the biggest difference that I see with the conditioning.
Hey, Tony, you said something about the linebackers. You brought them into the conversation. Jamin Davis made that big force turnover that turned the tides around. Terry McLaurin talked about that a little bit. And in the locker room, Terry McLaurin, as a leader, went over and hugged Chase Young, had a long conversation about him. That's what you're seeing on this team too, them being responsible for each other, them rallying beyond each other. But I want you to talk about that swim move that you said that Payne made. Could you explain that, in a little more breakdown terms?
What you do, we call it swim because your arm is up and over. But what you do is you make a jab step. Say, for instance, I want to swim to the left, and I'm going to make a jab step quick to the right, threaten that hole, make that guy take one step. That's all I need. At the same time, I'm taking my left hand, and I'm going for that shoulder to either club it, grab it, or whatever I need to do, and I'm going to swim up over him. And that's what that swim move, and that's one of the moves that we used to use up in, and all the guys had learned how to do it. But you would never believe that move, a lot of coaches don't like it because you're taking one side or the other. That's where the communication come in. You let your guy know. I remember whenever I was going to make a move that I needed to tell Dave Butt, look, I'm coming inside, cover me outside. He would do it. That's what so coordination is really what the difference, but the swim move, that gives you to make quick move, no contact, make big plays. Now, sometimes you may go the wrong way, but most of the times, if you get in that backfield, you have the decision to make.
Hey, Gary, you were just educated right there. I just want you to know.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about the swim move. I was gone by the time that happened.
Hey, Gary, a lot of receivers use the swim move too now.
I was too small. I tried to swim, somebody was going to jack me up. That was not going to work with me. I was too small to do that. I got to make you miss me off the line of scrimmage to get that shoulder turn.
And you know what, Gary is telling you the truth, because that's the one danger of the swim move for anybody. You get that arm up in the air and they catch you under that arm, you finished. So that's why coaches do not like it. But it's a great quick move. You have to have that continuity. But it's one thing, as you said, you got to communicate with the guy next to you, because that did a good job on Sunday, not letting the quarterbacks get outside. That was great because, this quarterback has been known through his whole career to be able to get outside and make plays. Even though he did make some plays, they kept him bottled up pretty well. But one thing I have to say is it wasn't just the defense. It was that offense that came out and ran the ball. It was that quarterback that had to stop holding the ball as long. It was that defensive line that didn't allow them to run, and they got pressure on them. It was those middle linebackers that stopped those tight ends from coming across and making the big plays they were making the first half. And then the defensive backs, they made the play to save the game. Even though a lot of people are trying to act as if he interfered, he didn't interfere. And what I'm talking about, continuity, but not just with the defense, with the offense. And we're going to leave our special teams because they're just as important. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about them. We'll be right back.
What's up?
Over and over again, you have heard me say that there's three facets to a team. You got your offense, you got your defense, but you got your special team. When you're going to be a championship team, you must have good play from each and every one of these people on the field. Not because they're not on there much, but because you need them. Everybody has a job. Our special teams haven't been spectacular this year, but they've been very good. Now, anybody that want to tell me difference, tell me what I'm missing. But it seems as though I would like to see some more big plays from them, but I still have to be happy with the way they're playing now.
Hey, Tony, come on.
Punter's really good.
Yeah, Tressway.
A punter's really good. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, because Tony, the special teams, that 49-yard field goal, I mean, this game wouldn't have been as close as it was. And Coach Rivera talked about in his presser this week is that, the long snapper, they've been having some problems with the long snapper. And he said this could cost them games down the stretch. So you can't actually have that, Tony, as far as you missing that, because he said those were points. So they're going to bring in some long snappers this week, because he said they're not pleased with that area. They had problems with the long snapper in the first game, and they had problems with the snaps this game also. So, this is an area he said that they can't afford. They've got to get it right. And if that means changing that guy, he said that's what they'll have to do.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Alex. Does that mean that they feel like those two field goals that were missed on Sunday was because of the snap?
I suppose they realized that played a role. I mean, those two field goals, they didn't just miss. I mean, the one was halfway to Boulder. I mean, they were really atrocious misses. Now, not being a snapping, holding, kicking expert, how much of that blame is on the snap? It takes a little teeny bit to throw that entire machine off. I imagine they are placing at least some, if not most of the blame on those missed kicks on the snapper, and maybe not on Joey Slye, who does have a very strong leg. The one insanely long kick that a lot of folks were questioning, why would you go for that real long field goal? He had just missed one. He did miss that one, which gave Denver great field position. This was early in the game before it completely sort of turned around in the Commanders' favor. But, yeah, listen, we don't see many kick returns anymore. I mean, we can count on one hand how many kicks came out of the end zone yesterday in probably the whole league. Punt returns, so many guys like Tressway are good at pinning folks inside their 10. The return game doesn't seem to be as prevalent as it was back in the day when we all, I think, enjoyed that part of the game. The punter, as Gary says, Tressway is fantastic. I think he averaged like 56 yards a kick Sunday. Sure, it's an altitude. 56 is a lot. He also tends to pin folks inside the 20 a lot. Special teams has been good. They don't win that game without at least decent special teams.
Exactly.
Hey, Tony, we haven't talked about the return. You know that Jamin Crowder is now returning the punts for the Commanders. They bought him back and signed him. And I think you've seen some better returns with him. He hasn't broke anything, but I think that he sees the seams better than Mims when he was in there. So I think that him being back, that you're going to see better returns from this guy.
Well, you know, we can always talk about it. Let's be truthful about it. Yes, we're not seeing great returns any longer, but we're also not seeing as many injuries. And I think that's why they changed the rules to make sure that those injuries were not so prevalent as they've been in the past. We like to have those return games, but if you think about it, people running down full speed, running into each other, trying to stop each other, you're going to get someone hurt. So I have no problem with that. I can miss those, but at the same time, when you have a rule and things you're supposed to do, i.e. on the punt return, when you're supposed to, as they say, set the wall to give the play, that's what you have to do. If you have to cover and be a gunner, that's what you have to do. You do your job. And that's what these special teams are doing. But one thing you did say that's so correct, the punting was outstanding. And when they needed the big punts, he made them happen. And that's what every team, every special team needs people like that.
Even Gary is excited about this game. Tony, when have you felt the energy from Gary? You know, about
I can't believe he's not talking about receivers. He got a new look too. The young man looked good. I like your new look too. And for all of you fans, Santana was trying to stay with us. He's going to a speaking engagement and he's in a bad area. So he may get back with us, he may not. But at the same time, we think he's out there with Fred Smoot.
You know what, Tony? He really just got tired of listening to Donna. That's all he really
got. He got tired of listening to you.
Well, wait, Donna was on key now. Donna was on key. But you know what? You think about it, and when we talk special teams, you look at the special teams. Santana was supposed to be special teams. They thought you were going to be one of the greatest special team players there. You turned out to be one of the greatest receivers. But then we had somebody like a Mike Mim, so it's all important. And I'll tell you another person that came into the league, they knew he was a great return man. And they knew he could do a lot of different things, which he's showing he still can. He became a Hall of Fame defensive back. He may have been one of the best returners in the game, but now he's one of the best coaches in the country and got his son doing everything. I know I jumped the gun, but when you look at what is happening in the college ranks and you look at Coach Prime, you have something to get excited about, Donna.
Yeah, Tony, I was so excited this past weekend because I was seeing some great football. Everybody probably in America was watching that Colorado and Colorado State game. And it went into the wee mornings. And I thought this game wasn't going to ever end. I thought that Colorado was going to lose that game because late in the fourth quarter, it was only 2 minutes or something to go. They went 98 yards. The ball was on the 98 yards to tie the score up. Now, they had to get a 2-point conversion also. And the only person that stayed around was that tight end, and he made the impact. But, Tony, this game was so exciting. But I want to go to the clip that I took out there because that energy at that game was electrifying. You know, Dion has them playing well. The way they came back in double overtime and won that game, they had all the celebrities out there. I mean, The Rock, Master P, Lil Wayne, Kawhi Leonard. I mean, the list went on and on with the stars because
was Gary Clark out there too?
Who was that?
Gary Clark.
No, I said the stars. I said the stars.
They didn't have the stars and they didn't have him. But you know what? Fans, you probably wondering, why did they throw that clip in there right there? I wanted you guys to see the college atmosphere what can happen when you have a good coach come in and do a good job. And look at one thing. Before we finish this show, we'll make you believe that was the way Washington looked to us on television. And EB is really the reason. The whole team is great, but EB has bought a whole new thing. This just like Dion bought it to college. Now, when we come back, I bought a whole new thing, the picks and everything. I don't know. Did I go 5-0 this week, Donna?
Well, Tony, all I know is that we got to wait for that Pittsburgh game to be played on Monday night. But right now, me, you, Gary are 4-0, and Alex is pulling up the rear.
Oh, not the winner, Alex.
The winner.
Hey, Alex said that it's not how you start, but how you finish.
It's like the Commanders.
We come back. We got more to say. We got to go around the league. We got to make our picks, and we got to wrap this bad boy up. But one thing you got to say, it's nice to be doing it with 2 wins in your pocket. We'll be back in a moment. One thing we have said, even though Washington has 2 wins, there's a lot of good teams out there this year. And I tell you what, when you go around the league, you start looking at it, there's just a little bit of difference in each team. Maybe attending to a detail, or maybe conditioning, or maybe your quarterback is reading better. But if you look around the league, it's some really good teams out there and doing fabulous things. I mean, you look at the Miami, you look at the San Franciscos. I look at Cleveland is going to be a good team. But then I look at other teams. I think Eric Bieniemy coming here may hurt Kansas City more than it hurt anybody, because they are not the same team that they were. And if you start looking around the league, I don't think Buffalo, even though they won, they're not the same team. And we hope they don't be the same team this week. But as you guys look around the team, what teams stand out to you guys? Let's look at the different games. New England, they did as well as they could, but, they're not going to happen. Everybody's saying Philadelphia is not the same team. They may not be the same team, but they're still winning and they're still tough. And I tell you, there's a lot of teams that's going to challenge out there. And let's hope Washington is one of them.
Hey, Tony, you talked about a team out of the blocks that have some hiccups. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. 0-2 to start the season. You're surprised about that team because you looked at them being one of the dominant teams coming back into this season, and they haven't gotten out the block strong. You talked about the Buffalo being different, the Commanders' next opponent coming up, but they got on the winning board this past week, and Josh Allen looks good. He was 31 of 37, and then they've got a good running game that they had 123 yards from James Cooks. So, I mean, I think I'm more surprised with the Cincinnati team right now than anything. And you talked about Kansas City, that they're not going to be the same with Eric Bieniemy. All I know that they had all their players back and they won that game on Sunday. But I'm with you. They're going to miss him. But, Tony, Philadelphia and the Dallas Cowboys, those are 2 teams to watch. Dallas and that defense, they are smoking right now.
Yeah, but the defense is only good, Donna, when people try to run side to side on them. When people run right at them, they are able to run on Dallas. I look at it, if I had to choose between those 2 teams, which I'm not, I'm going to have Washington in there somewhere. We all know that, okay, you were talking about Cincinnati. That was an aberration last year. They had an opportunity to get, I didn't think they'd get that far. They're doing what they're supposed to do. You look at the Giants, same thing. Pretenders and contenders, and
they came back and won. Tony, the Giants did.
Who did they win against? We don't even know their name. Gary can take a Pop Warner team out there and beat them. So you know what? Let's start looking at this thing for real. You look at your San Francisco. I keep telling you guys, don't sleep on them. If they do not have the injuries, they're going to be a team that people better deal with. But one thing we have to look at is that Miami Dolphin team. Do you know they got 4 receivers? And G, talk to me about this. Their slowest receiver runs a 4.36 or something like that out of their 4 receivers. Is that unbelievable? And Tua is throwing the ball with.
Wow. That's the slowest receiver? Oh, wow.
They got
That's all I can
4
say.
receivers.
Wow. I didn't say anything else. I mean, the slowest receiver runs 4.36.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. That's unbelievable. But it really comes down to how's his route running, how their route running. It seems to be spectacular. I mean, they're winning, of course, so it seems spectacular. So Time will tell. I mean, we have to wait till the season's over to see how they fare. But I mean, Miami, they're Miami. I was there for a year, enjoyed it, and they're doing that with all those distractions. They're playing well with all those distractions that are in Florida. That's in Miami. There's a lot of distractions, and they're still able to come out there and play well. So we'll see. It's still early in the season. Right now, I'm just happy that we're 2-0. We haven't been able to say that in a long time. I'm just happy that we're 2-0.
Hey, Tony, going back to Miami, Tua, you mentioned him. This is a guy that last year struggled for a minute, and everybody thought that he wasn't going to be the quarterback that everybody had projected him. But I think that looking at his play right now, this is a quarterback that you've got to have conversations about, because he's what's making this team go because of his play right now. But Tony, the other thing is the Chargers and the Vikings are not on the board either. Are you surprised about the play of the Vikings right now with Kevin O'Connell, the coach up there, and the Chargers coach? He was hilarious on the TV when some of those reporters was asking him questions. He was like, "What do you see? What do you see that what happened? We didn't win the ball game." But those are two surprising teams too that play each other this week.
Well, the Vikings are playing, and I tell you what, they won 8 games in the last minute or by a few points last year. And we all know they had a rabbit's foot in their pocket. That rabbit foot dead now, so that's why they're not doing it. We always know. I like Cousin and everything, but he just haven't taken us to the promised land when he was here or there. And when you talk about Tua, you talk about a guy that he feel like he has to prove. He's already been fighting with some of the announcers and stuff, and people talking about it. But this young guy, they usually look at a left-hand quarterback, as we had in Atlanta one time, and they said that the spin of their ball is different. But he has such a smooth ball and a quick delivery. And as Gary knows, and what Gary's saying, when you got 4 receivers running 4-3 or better, you better get 200 or 300 yards a game. But Donna, let's go back. If you had to name an AFC or NFC team, what would be your 2 favorite ones right now? And I want everybody to tell me that.
Yeah, well, I you know what, you can't Kansas City out, but they've got to be in the conversation too. On the other side, the 49ers, you got to have them in the conversation, because this is the team that's going to be there in the end too. But Tony, I still say that the Philadelphia Eagles, although their defensive coordinator is gone, and I think that's the hiccup with them right now, they're finding ways to win. So I would say that I'm still talking about Kansas City, because until you knock them off the throne, they're going to be in the mix.
Okay, so Alex, give me your 2 teams.
Tony, I'm going Baltimore Ravens. Unless they're always pretty good. Lamar missed the last 6 games last year or so. He's back. They go into Cincinnati. Cincinnati was desperate. They'd lost a game. You think, well, they're going to be so angry and they're going to come out all fired up. Maybe they did. The Ravens beat them relatively handily, since he had to score late. It was a 2-possession game late. Baltimore Ravens, if he stays healthy, Lamar, and they've got Beckham, and they've got their rookies, Zay Flowers, who's fast. That defense seems to always kind of be there. The guys move in and out, but they're always kind of stout. If the Bengals aren't who we thought they were, that AFC North, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson healthy, I think are great. And I'm with you, the 49ers. Something about Kyle Shanahan, something about that offense, whether it's Brock Purdy, whether it's the other one, now it's Purdy. They're really good, and they're physical, and they run it when they have to, and they run it when they want to, and then they can spread it around and do so many things offensively. Right now, 2 weeks in, Don, if I had to pick a Super Bowl, it would be the Niners and the Ravens. That would be a rematch from when the brothers coached against each other, but obviously Jim Harbaugh no longer out in San Fran.
Gary, give me your 2.
Man, they just rambling. It's really simple. It's really simple. It's going to be Kansas City, and it's going to be the Commanders. It's really simple. Talking about all this stuff, what the defense doing, what the offense doing, what this player's doing, what that player's doing. Oh my gosh, really simple.
You just like to keep it simple.
Just listen to me.
No, don't listen to you.
Kansas City and the Commanders. Really simple. Just like I told Donna last week, don't be saying Donna said Commanders going to lose last week.
I did not say that the Commanders were going to lose. So don't make me pull the tape back on you.
All right, we don't want don't pull the red flag out.
Tony, you don't get off the hook.
One thing that
You
I
don't get
got
off the
from all
hook. Who's
three
your
of you
two
guys
teams?
as you did your picks, the teams that you picked are in great condition. And you see that in their play. You see that in what they're doing. And when you talk about great conditioning, that's why we had to bring back one of our superstars this year. We had to bring back Ricky Irvin's Donna. And he got a little message for everybody.
Yeah, Tony, I like how you got off the hook and you didn't pick your two teams.
I did that last week. I told you.
Hold on,
Cleveland,
Gang. Hold
49ers
on,
right now.
Okay. But you know what, Tony? You always talk about that EB has this team in shape, whether they're on the defensive side and the offensive side. And Ricky Irvins is getting us back in shape this year with his fitness tips. And he told me to, talk to you and Gary that he wants you all to come out there to get into some training to get you all back into shape, because me and Alex, we're in the gym.
Back again, 2023. I'm here to do the fitness tips. So get ready for my tips in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, back here with Ricky Irvins. We're back in the gym again for another NFL 2023 season. We're whipping our bodies into shape because, Ricky, we've been slacking a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Just a little bit,
I know that I need
cups
to.
Here and there, tweaks, just a little bit.
Hey, Ricky, but before we get started, give us some tips as far as tennis shoes, heart monitors, and all the things that we need in getting started. A beginner, a person that's been in it for a while, what are some important health tips?
One of the tips I love is that I like to buy 2 or 3 pair of shoes if I'm going to run. If I'm going to be one of those guys that's going to be doing sprints, I'm going to buy about 3 pairs of real comfortable shoes. So now when I wear one week, I don't wear it out. So next week I'm going to wear a different pair. And that way you don't wear your shoes out. You don't mess up your joints, because again, you pounding on these joints, on this body. And so it has to go somewhere. All that impact, where's it going to go? Your ankles and your knees.
And what about a heart monitor? That you said that is important too. I don't have one, so Ricky is telling me that I better go get one.
I'm always encouraging my clients to get a heart rate monitor. That gauges how hard you are working, and then how fast you come down. That's how I can tell, you way out of shape because it's taking you a long time to come down. Or as soon as you drop off the treadmill, all of a sudden your heart rate went from 160 down to 130, like that. You're in great shape. Oh, do what you got to do.
At the end of your workout, you were telling me, make sure that you ice. Why is that important?
Oh my God, I love you, girl. Listen, ice is the most important thing that you could just. I can't put it in words. It's like I tell my kids every time, when you go home, please ice. Even if it doesn't hurt, even if you don't feel anything. Why? Because you are putting impact on your shins, on your ankles every single day when you run on concrete, when you run on grass, when you run on gravel. It's impact. So if you don't go home and put ice on it, now those shins start to hurt. You start to feel a little bit. And then if you don't take care of that, you lower that signal, it goes to fractures. Now we can't do anything. So please, ice, even if it doesn't hurt, please get in the ice bath. That's what I like to do.
So me and Ricky are challenging ourselves. We got the whole football season. In the Minute with Tony and Donna. You can catch them weekly on their podcast, and you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel, In the Minute. Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Speakers Bureau offers you various opportunities to connect with former and current players, along with Tony and the crew. For more information, go to redmagplus.com, Speakers Bureau.
One more thing.
Welcome back. And as I told you, take a look at the picks on the screen right now, and you'll see who's winning. I know everyone is probably thinking I'm cheating, but we're not. But at the same time, what we want to do with this show is always bring you the information. We went a little bit over this week, but at the same time, we're hoping we can come back and make it up next week when they are 3-0. And one thing about it, guys, as it's been said, 2 games don't make a season, but at the same time, it makes a season you can make. And what we want to do is, as we go through it, we always want to come to you guys and bring you information. That's why I'm doing the talking in the end, because Donna don't know what she's talking about anything. So what we're going to do is when we come back next week, we're going to challenge each other and see who thought they would be 3-0. and who did not. But always, we waiting. You the guys that make us win, so we never say goodbye to you. We say in the minute.